Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about helping nonprofits. We're talking about CFO Leverage. We're honored to have their co-founders, Daniel Weaver and Sam Coates. How are you two doing?
Man, we're happy to be here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Glad to talk today.
Well, when you talk about helping nonprofits, there's a lot to unpack in terms of how you make it easy and handling the back end. And so a lot of strategy, a lot of lifting, a lot of powering the good. But let's start with a little bit of your backgrounds and how you two launched CFO Leverage. So Daniel, give us some of your background and how you two came together to launch the company.
Sure. So I have an accounting background, an accounting degree from the University of Memphis, and then got my CPA license and an MBA from the university, and was in public accounting for a number of years, and then had the opportunity to work for a nonprofit, work for Memphis Union Mission, spent over 8 years helping them with their finances, got to do some exciting stuff. They have a great team there. And then I started looking at some of the changes in the accounting industry and seeing how fewer folks are going into accounting. There's a shortage of accountants, looking at the rise of remote work and some of the opportunities to do accounting, bookkeeping, CFO services remotely, and kind of saw the model for kind of outsourcing some of these on a kind of fractional basis where, you don't necessarily have to hire someone full time to get some of these services done, especially for smaller organizations, and really makes So when I saw this business model going out there, I saw opportunity to serve more people, help more people, really enjoyed being involved in the nonprofit space. But rather than just focusing for one nonprofit, saw opportunity to grow and serve more, help more people. And that's when I met Sam Coates, met him through a board that he was on, and mutual connection through a nonprofit, and teamed up with him to bring basically bookkeeping and outsource CFO services to a wider audience.
Sam, go ahead and carry that forward, because you yourself, very missional entrepreneur. So talk about kind of what you saw with this, and then go ahead and start diving into CFO Leverage.
Yeah, so I think anybody that's had a business has seen that accounting can be a very challenging place. And even, good CPAs, good accountants, they're overworked. And just the game itself with the deadlines, with how things have to be done, and then the hours that CPAs put in and accounting professionals put in. It's honestly, I think, maybe an industry that needs to be changed from that standpoint. I'm not saying that as a CPA, a CFO, but you're cramming all this stuff in the first 4 months of the year, and that's just my opinion, but it creates challenges. And then, so with turnover, I mean, it's very public out there. Like Wall Street Journal came out with a report this past year just about, the crisis of the shortage of accountants. And so for me, I just saw opportunity. And I mean, I think anybody that's started anything, you have good ideas and bad ideas, but things just came together. And I think Daniel and I both tried to think it through. We both, because of what we believe personally, prayed through it. And really, I mean, we didn't try to force anything. And I think with this business, you're in the people business and you're in the quality of work business. And finances are, one of the most important things that can happen to an organization. So you got to be doing good work. And there's plenty of examples of what happens if you're not doing good work, the consequences to the director, to the board, to the organization. And then ultimately that impacts the people that they're serving. So I like the model. I saw the trends. Daniel's a sharp guy. Our skill sets are completely different, and we don't get in each other's lane. I'd never done a partnership before, but we both been a part of different things. So we kind of did it, I think, the right way from the start, and how we're going to operate. And then, it started, and, it's been a wild year. It's been a very fast growing year. I'd say the first few months, you're just leveraging your network, you're leveraging relationships, and then you're trying to prove it and you're trying to earn it. And that's not sexy. You just got to work really hard. But we've invested in people, we've gotten the job done. And, I'd say more so than me, Daniel's put in a ton of hours. He handled it in a real classy way with the Memphis Union Mission. And we're grateful to call them a client today. They have a wonderful reputation around the country, and we have clients around the country. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're trying to change the narrative too on remote services and outsourced services. Like, we view that directors, board members, they have our cell phone numbers. And now, we have 9 people on our team, but we're engaged in the business. And so, they're like, one of my favorite stories about this business so far, we serve a client in the Pacific Northwest, and the previous CPA that served that client, they had never ever been to their office, and they were in the same city. And so we made a point to go see that client. We didn't just see them at a national conference. We saw them at a regional conference. We send them lunch. Like, we are trying to roll with the changes in this industry, do very good work. And we've been fortunate to grow via reputation, referrals, and then just, I think by us having a diverse set of skill sets, where not all of us are CPAs and accountants. So, like, we're able to go shake the bushes and make the calls and try to close business. But then at the same time, we have the people that are focused on it. And I think as organizations get bigger, they get further from the customer. And I think that's hard from a values, from a culture standpoint. And so we're fortunate. We're, bringing on smart people, accomplished people. But how do we line up the values to where, as we continue to grow, Lord willing, we're going to continue to be relentless about serving the customer. And I think that's what I saw. That's what we're right in the middle of. But at the end of the day, it's always fun when you feel like you got something. So we're just trying to work hard and keep backing it up month by month and earn that business every month.
Talk about what you do, because obviously, fractional CFO, outsourced CFO, so accounting for nonprofits, finance. Go ahead and start diving into what you do.
To simply put it, we are a turnkey solution that is fully accountable of handling the back office, finance, and accounting for a nonprofit. And most nonprofits are smaller than 5 million statistically. Obviously, the data can vary, but there's 1.6 million nonprofits in the United States. That's a report I saw. Most of those nonprofits are going to be less than 5 million. It really doesn't make sense if a CFO is going to cost 120 on the low end. We have clients that their market would be 200 plus benefits, that a lot of people can't swing that. And then if you hire a CFO, a lot of people don't like to do the minutia, the data entry, all the stuff that is more lower level. So then you're going to have more costs. So we save our clients 40, 50%, 30, 40, 50%, depending on what they are. But we're experienced in nonprofit accounting, the 990, the charitable solicitations, the budget to actual, all that. So clients come to us and we do packages like gold, silver, bronze. Some of those people may be just reconciliations and reports on a monthly basis. Some of those people on higher end, we're going to do their 990. We're going to do their charitable solicitations. We're going to do their budget to actual. We're going to present at board meetings. We're going to meet monthly with the director. Some clients, we meet weekly with the leadership team. We're going to give different leaders, their budget to actual, and we're going to handle accounts payable. We're going to handle reconciliations. So it's a full stack solution. The only thing that we can't do is we can't go to your mailbox and get snail mail. But, QuickBooks owns, this needs to be checked, but at one time they've owned 85% of the market from a system standpoint in small business. A lot of our clients use QuickBooks. So they are discontinuing the in-person version. So all these different softwares and integrations are happening online. And so we're capitalizing on that opportunity to where we are not geographically restricted. And so we come in and we should be accountable. We're not going to just throw 3 to 4 different people at our clients. We have one person that's a point of contact, but we own these responsibilities. And it's a lot of fun to save people 30, 40%, 50% sometimes. But to know that money goes back to the front line, it goes back to the impact. And so you're also fighting bloat within the organization. And as I think a lot of people know, turnover can be costly and it can be frustrating. And so the whole perspective is, if we do our job well, we're a long-term solution, we're cost effective, we do it more efficiently than people in house in most instances, and we're focusing on this niche really up to 7-8 million a year. Some clients can be bigger than that, but it's a strong value proposition. At least it's been so far. So I think on top of that, I mean, Daniel, is there anything else that I haven't covered that you think is important?
Yeah, and touch on, because I think, Sam, you've really illustrated the differences and why specialization is a very important, but a really powerful opportunity to both serve, but to specialize in that in terms of expertise. Daniel, especially coming from that sector, talk about that specialization and some of the challenges that nonprofits face, that really you can help and be a guided expert because of your background and because of the specialization.
It was important to me that we focus only on nonprofits, because if you spread yourself too thin and you're trying to, one day help a manufacturing client with cost accounting, and the next day you're helping a service business with their tax planning, you really just can't be an expert to all things, to all people. And so it was important to me to focus just on nonprofits so that we can be that expert, so that we can bring that level of quality to the service that we're doing. And there's a lot of commonality when you're doing bookkeeping, when it comes to accounts payable or something, that would be pretty common across industries. But when it comes to nonprofit, the more unique things also tend to be where you can add a lot of value as far as the reporting and how you're tracking, like designated gifts, make sure that you're tracking the classes. A lot of nonprofits have different programs, different departments. Sometimes there's grant funding for a specific department that's designated for that. There might be federal grants or state grants that are designated to be used only certain ways. And so when you get into those, on the reporting side, it tends to be have some unique differences from any other bookkeeping or accounting, to make sure that you're keeping those buckets straight, that you're delivering the reports that you need to enable your fundraisers to go back to the folks that are giving money, to the granting agencies, the foundations, the state and local governments, and making sure that they have the reports that they need to explain the work that they've done and the impact that they're having with those funds.
Daniel, staying on you, give me one thing that's top of mind for 2025 when you look at any sort of changes, trends in the industry specific to nonprofits. What's something that has your attention right now, just within the landscape of things that are going on?
In the last year or couple of years, there's been a lot of attention, of course, on AI and how that's going to impact the accounting profession. I think how I see things is it's going to make accountants more efficient, but it's not going to replace the need for accountants. There's tools out there, and they want you to think that they can do everything just by AI in the background. And if you don't have somebody steering that ship, if you don't have somebody that knows how to use that tool, I think you're going to end up with quite a mess on your hands. But alternatively, it is making us more efficient in how we do our jobs. I think it's using a tool like Bill.com to help with payables, and the character recognition when you put an invoice into that system, and it pulls out the amount and the date and the who you're paying, and it pulls all of that out without having to type it in. That's because of improvements in AI. So I think it's just an interesting time to be an accountant. A lot of change, technology with AI that's going to make us more efficient in how we do our jobs. But I don't think it's gonna replace us. It's just gonna enable us to do more with less.
Well, and then Sam, carry that back into the missional side of this for nonprofits, because the cost savings on one side allows them to pour more into the programs and the impact. And I think that's a big piece of this, is all sides running with efficiency and effectiveness. And so talk about kind of that missional piece of really allowing the dollars to be put to the best use to make a difference in the communities.
Yesterday I had lunch with a director who was a CEO of a major corporation before he took this position to really lead a very important organization in the Mid-South community. But the way that gentleman talked about, he is a steward of the impact of the work. And I think sometimes in nonprofits, it can be so personality driven and so relationship driven that if it was a for-profit business, different decisions would be made. And what I'm not trying to say is I think everything needs to be imposed from for-profit on nonprofit. But what I am saying that data and the numbers can help us, know things where things are at, where emotion and bias can. And we all have those tendencies. And so I think if we view our job well, if reconciliations are done in a prompt way, if invoicing is being done, gift tracking, if payables are being done correctly, if donors can see the stewardship component and the return on investment, then we're doing our job empowering the organization, and we're also accountable. And one of the things we don't want to take advantage of, to be honest, nonprofit leaders are a little bit more patient than for-profit leaders, but we don't want to take advantage of that. And another thing I'll say is it's very hard to quantify the impact of a nonprofit, especially when you're looking at a lot of different nonprofits. And I think if a director, if a donor, if a board member, if they can articulate and understand, the impact that's being done through the organization, but they can also reconcile it to clear financials, we're doing our job. And we are helping people be stewards of either what they've received or what they're giving. And that's very fulfilling. And I think what we've seen is people are overworked. People wear a lot of different hats. CPA firms cannot get involved in the nonprofit the way that we can, because we are into the systems of the organization in a safe and secure way. And we are not mandating our systems on the client. And you got to change with the client at their preferred pace. And so we're a tool and we're an advocate for the client, but we're also accountable. And so if we don't do our job or we don't perform, then, we're let go. And then also we're not just bookkeepers. And so it's common in this industry for people that want to have clients, and that's fine if that's what's best for the client. But if a client comes to us, we're not just looking for 3 or 4 clients. And so if a client comes to us and we haven't been handling accounts payable and we haven't been handling audit support or whatever, we're able to take that on. But as entrepreneurs, we got to be continued to invest and grow in the business too. So we want to be a holistic solution. And I think you've got to truly help the client, you've got to be committed for their growth, and you've got to be willing to take on the hard things. And that entails people and software and accountability and management. And so I think there's a way, hopefully, at least what we've heard from clients, if we do our job well, we're a very cost-effective solution. We're an experienced solution, but we're also aligned to the client, and we're going to serve them with the vision and direction that they're going to take it.
Wrap up with contact information. So for nonprofits who say, wow, this sounds great, I want to learn more, I want to have a conversation, where do they go to connect in and learn more about CFO Leverage?
So CFOleverage.com, CFOLeverage.com. And then Daniel Weaver, Sam Coates, we're both on LinkedIn. Our cell phone numbers should be on that website, email addresses. So, and that's where we're at.
Well, Sam Coates, Daniel Weaver, CFO Leverage, thank you for all you do to power the good and to help nonprofits. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for giving us this platform. Appreciate it and the work you do.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.